Ladies and... Oh, wait a minute. Peter the Pig has something to say. What does he have to say? Peter the Pig said I'm the biggest loser in the room because I'm wearing a Porzingis jersey that has no value anymore. Have a nice day. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about some WWE news. Summerslam has been moved from Boston to the Performance Center amid COVID-19. Vince McMahon himself stated that he wanted to do anything and everything he could to have fans. Clearly, there's going to be no fans in any type of arenas anytime soon. Wweextremerules is potentially going to have a lot of cinematic matches. If you look at this card, there's absolutely nothing extreme about this card. We're going to talk about it. And Drew McIntyre had to talk Heath Slater. Yes, that's right. Heath Slater did make a one-off comeback to Raw last week. We're going to talk about what I think about that. And if there ever is a future with Heath Slater. All that, this, then, and all that other stuff in between. Hit the like button, subscribe. Nobody does it. If you watch wrestling for an extended period of time, and by that time I usually mean the last 5 years or so, you know that their lack of creativity is so blatantly obvious, it's very, very difficult to watch. I can sit here and tell you that week after week, Raw and SmackDown generally are not exciting. Raw has been a little bit better. SmackDown has been unwatchable. I think this last week of SmackDown, I watched about an hour of this SmackDown on Friday, and I could sit here and tell you that after an hour, I legitimately turned it off. I will have SmackDown as background noise. I couldn't even do that. It was so bad. So bad. Go look at, anybody watching that hasn't seen SmackDown from this Friday, go look at the results of last Friday's SmackDown. All the matches, how everything ended, and just tell me what you think. But I'm going to tell you what I think about these three topics. The first one is SummerSlam moving from Boston to the Performance Center amid COVID-19. WWE did not have a choice. There are going to be no arenas anytime soon. Now, as far as outdoor goes, I do think there's a chance, from what I'm told, that there's a general amount of football stadiums that are going to have, I think the Titans Nissan Stadium announced that their season ticket holders are going to be filled at 25% capacity. As far as arenas go, arenas are a big no-no. Obviously, the virus is harder to contract outdoors, so that would be meaning that arenas would seem like a no-no. And if you've ever been to a WWE show, the arenas are filled with 20,000 fans that are breathing on top of each other. What does this mean? Well, SummerSlam, from what's hyped and the storylines going in, I think if it was executed properly, it could be the best show that WWE's put on all year, because there's so many different storylines you can go, and I think that they can really pull this off. But I've said that before, and so have you. Basically, this is from Bleacher Report, and it says WWE will remove this SummerSlam's pay-per-view from Boston to the Performance Center in Orlando. Mike Johnson of PW Insider reported the change of plans, which was long expected after Boston Mayor Marty Walsh announced an extension of the ban on large gatherings in the city through the end of the summer. SummerSlam was slated for August 23rd at TD Garden. This will be the first time SummerSlam has not been held at an arena or stadium. WWE's been broadcasting its weekly programs from the Performance Center, which have been pretty much awful, without fan attendance since the virus pandemic began. The company has allowed wrestlers to act as fans in the crowd at recent tapings to give broadcast a better atmosphere. It remains unclear when WWE will be allowed to return to a regular touring schedule. Large gatherings remain essentially banned across the United States, and areas like Texas and Florida, which have reopened a lot of their state before other places, have seen large spikes in COVID-19 cases, particularly Florida. And if you want my honest opinion, Florida actually didn't listen to begin with. I don't think there was any point in time where Florida was actually really locked down, and they're paying for it. The most likely scenario is WWE continuing the status quo until their vaccine or more reliable treatment options. That's how it's going to be for everybody. WWE's really suffering. It forces them to be more creative, and I think that they have there's been certain things that they've done very well with what was I going to say? There's been certain things they've done very, very well with this. They had the promo right before WrestleMania with John Cena and Bray Wyatt. The promos feel more realistic. Seth Rollins has really kind of captured what was special about him during this pandemic. We've seen a lot of Andrade and Angel Garza. Austin Theory is, from what I'm being told, is actually being held off of television right now because of his accusations from the Me Too movement. Same thing with Velveteen. We haven't seen him on NXT. If anything comes or there's any huge news for it, I will give you that news as it becomes available. SummerSlam, I'm looking at all these guys. There's so much potential. I don't know why they're doing Matt Riddle versus AJ Styles next week and not just throwing it on Extreme Rules. Again, that's kind of just one of those things. Does not make sense. SummerSlam has a lot of potential. I'm hearing there were a feud for Orton and McIntyre. Randy Orton has been on fire literally all year. And if there's a guy that's going to take the title off of Drew, even though I believe it's just a little bit too soon, I think it would be Randy Orton, because he just has everything. This 2020 Randy Orton is something special, really. The whole feud with Edge leading up to WrestleMania, the match wasn't that great. Their match at Backlash was fantastic. Best wrestling match ever, of course not. But it was very good. And then the whole situation with Christian. Randy Orton has been very, very special. And he doesn't need it, but Randy Orton would look very good with a nice piece of gold on him. The question is, does it come at the expense of Drew McIntyre? You know what I mean? I think the Universal Champion desperately needs somebody that can make that title feel important again. I don't hate Braun Strowman. You know, he's become a little bit better. I actually thought his promo, was it 2 weeks ago on SmackDown, was fantastic. You know, there's so much going into SummerSlam, but it's obviously going to have a sour taste to it. It's going to be a while before we see fans in an arena again. They did temporarily have fans in the Performance Center. Now, I believe they tried to shoot that away a little bit. I don't know how far ahead. I would have to look at the schedule. I don't know how far ahead their tapings have actually been completed. I don't think they taped Extreme Rules yet. They matched, well, shit, they may have, honestly, at this point. Excuse my language. But I think that the way that it's going is particularly in Florida, and some of the people testing positive within WWE, I think that they might have to pull the trigger on fans. The fans have added a little bit of something special, but I'm told they're you know, working long days, and they're probably, you know, vocally exhausted. You know, we're gonna see what happens here, but let's talk about Extreme Rules here now. This is not a preview and prediction video, but what I'm basically going to explain here is kind of just what the cinematic matches mean. Now, if you saw the Boneyard match between Undertaker and AJ Styles, you obviously know that that was a cinematic match. The Money in the Bank match was mostly cinematic. They're a nice touch, and it adds something special to what is the pandemic era, but I don't think it needs to be abused, and it has to be done right. Here's what I mean. Here's the card right now for Extreme Rules. Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt, a non-title swamp fight. I don't know why it's non-title. I guess they don't want Bray Wyatt to lose again. Asuka versus Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's title. That's a regular match. Drew versus Ziggler. Ziggler chooses the stipulation. It could be a ladder match. We don't know. Bayley versus Nikki Cross for the SmackDown Women's Championship. No desire to see it. Apollo Crews versus MVP could be a nice little match for the U.S. title. Regular match. Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio in an eye versus eye match. We are being told that there's going to be CGI effects to represent an actual eye being pulled out, because obviously that's not happening. Who wins that match? That's really a tough one for me. And then Jeff Hardy and Sheamus, the feud that's been built pretty decently, they're kind of blowing it, because they're putting them in as a bar fight. The bar fight would be cinematic. We have a bar fight, an eye for an eye match, a swamp fight, and probably some extreme match with McIntyre and Ziggler. Extreme Rules each and every year has felt less and less extreme. I know there's you're not able to work with as many things. The swamp fight, I'm interested to see, because again, it's just the Boneyard match was great. Will the swamp fight be great? Probably. This card is not bad. It's just not really extreme. I've heard rumors of Randy Orton versus Big Show in an Extreme Rules match. Please save me. Save it. Big Show's great. Love him. I don't need to see him with Randy Orton. But that looks like that's where it's going. WWE added the bar fight since our previous update. Extreme Rules was originally scheduled to be held in San Jose. Moved to the Performance Center. WWE obviously is billing the event using the Horror Show slogan. Horror Show. Is the stage going to look like Halloween? You know, what is... You know, that doesn't hurt either. I know you're at the Performance Center, but, you know, it doesn't hurt to be a little bit creative with the stage and everything that's around it, because I know that that's been something that has not really happened too much. NXT and TakeOver in Your House, the show wasn't that great, but the set was. Doesn't make it a good show, but the set was good, was it not? Okay? Things like that. You know what I'm saying? Have some weeds and some, you know, maybe like a grave or a tombstone or some dark slime coming down. Just do something creative. Anyways, that's that. Cinematic matches. I can tell you right now, the swamp fight's cinematic. The bar fight probably is too. I don't know what happens in a bar fight. Do you just knock the other person out? Again, that Jeff Hardy and Sheamus should have been an Extreme Rules match. Blows my mind. Heath Slater. I know, I actually, when Heath Slater came out on Raw this past week, I don't know if I went in the other room because I was late. I actually went to the beach with this girl that I'm talking to. And, no, wait, that was Tuesday. I have no excuse. I was actually not paying attention, and I came back and I said, what the hell's going on? Is Heath Slater in the ring? Heath Slater came to Raw, and he cut a damn good promo. Let me tell you something about Heath Slater. When Heath Slater first started, he was a joke, okay? He did the whole I Got Kids thing with Rhino. That was funny for a while. Heath Slater is one of those guys that has potential that it's just not been shown. It's been shown to us, but through WWE it has not. Drew McIntyre states that he had to talk with Heath Slater in recent Raw appearance. Mentally, he has moved on, and that's good for him because WWE has nothing for him. Speaking to TalkSport, champion Drew McIntyre revealed he had to convince Heath Slater to show up to Raw. He was a little bit against it. Slater made his shocking return on Monday, losing to his buddy after a called-out Scottish psychopath for not helping him where he lost his job in the company in April. That was a very good point. However, it appears Slater wasn't too excited about coming back. To show up, the moment at the end was very special, and I was very much pushing for that idea to happen. I think I saw something on the internet saying I was behind it, and I think I'm going, how are they getting this information? But yeah, I played a big part in making it happen, to be honest. Heath was a little bit against it, and I spoke to my wife right before the phone call I made to him. She reminded me how I felt at the time when I was released, and sure enough, he felt the same. He appreciated the opportunity he had, where he made his name, but mentally he has moved on. He also mentioned that he feels Slater is ready for the next stage. The segment was fairly unusual for the top babyface WWE champion, as instead of presenting the star as a superhero and highlighted McIntyre's flaws, that was something McIntyre was pushing for in an empty arena setting, and it felt gave them a chance to tell a more complex story. Again, another thing that WWE has done decently well is their promo work and their ability to tell stories with dead silence. He also mentioned, oh, I read that already. I know obviously I'm supposed to be a top good guy, so it's not ideal in a lot of eyes to put it out there, and I've been a bad friend. But the way I look at it with my character is, especially given the environment we're in, we can tell a more complex story. In an arena, I'd have been booed to pieces for being such a terrible friend, but in this environment, I think it's important to show my character because I am. Like John Cena, Superman, and Roman can be bulletproof a lot of the time, but I think Drew McIntyre is Drew Galloway. I'm a flawed person, and Dolph tried to put me in a difficult situation, showing maybe I haven't been as attentive to my friend as I should have been in front of the world. What just happened? I was literally reading this. You saw Drew Galloway, then it's I feel really bad here. I'll give you what you want. At the end, reunited. We overcame Dolph, and I think it's important for my character to show those flaws. Hopefully, Slater can follow in McIntyre's footsteps to find his groove on the independent scene. As this Raw appearance proved, he has an awful lot to offer as a performer. McIntyre will defend his title against Dolph Ziggler at the Horror Show at Extreme Rules on July 19th. Absolutely. You know, it's so easy for everybody to sit and say, you know, Heath Slater should go to AEW. Heath Slater should go to New Japan. I think AEW would have something to offer Heath Slater, but I think that he reminds me a little bit of Shawn Spears, because you see that potential's there. It's not quite there, but I think Heath Slater could really, you know, he doesn't have to be a champion, but I think Heath Slater has the opportunity to have a good run somewhere. Hopefully it's not Impact Wrestling, because I think he's a little bit better than that, and that is no shot at anybody in Impact Wrestling. Is Heath Slater back in WWE? No. I don't even think he wants to be back in WWE, because WWE will do exactly what they did with him the last time. He will get lost in the sands of time, and he will not be important. How about that? McIntyre defending his title against Ziggler. Now, I'm not doing my preview yet, but I can tell you this. McIntyre is obviously going to retain his championship, whatever kind of match that it is. That's really all the news I got for everybody today. I hope everybody continues to be safe and we make it through this cluster of a year that has been 2020. I figured I'd get some WWE news out there just because I feel people particularly enjoy that a lot more. At least a lot of my base has been WWE or WWE. What's the word? Vocal. Thank you as always for watching, and continue to stay safe.